Thank you again for joining. I say welcome. I had network glitch, but I've been able to fix it now. So sorry about that. Welcome once again, and I think that's all for now. So let's go directly to the chart. While I hope that many other people and many other members of the group are actually going to are going to join us. Okay, so let's go to the chart. I assume, and it's been said that you all can see my screen and you can hear my voice. Thank you so much for your comments. So yes, this is good. But before I speak about good, let's quickly just take it. This is how we do it here. Try to rush through those things we've actually spoken about before and see how they are faring and actually see what's feasible for the next day. Okay, let me just start directly with good. As this is 120, and yes, in the next 25 minutes we should be done for today. But before that time, I hope that your time here, will be worthy enough, and you are going to be able to learn one or two things, either new or even something before, reaffirming it, and you are even further solidified in that which you have learned before. So now this is good, and of course I've said it again and again that gold has been trending to the downside. The gold has been trending to the downside. So it is no news to us that gold is still gold is selling and is still on the bearish movement for the next number of either days or weeks, and at the next the most feasible overall, I'm not going to call it overall target, but the most recent or the very near overall target for gold will be actually 1888, and I think I have the black line there, which has actually signified that is 1888 for the next gold target. That's like the overall, the most nearest overall TP for gold. But before that, what is gold doing and what was our analysis on gold? And of course here, don't forget that gold broke out here. We actually had our counter trend line, and we said we wanted a retest, and of course on the retest we were able to enter and get something out, but we were taking out on break even and sort. So now, what is gold doing? Now, if you were here on Tuesday, I said something, and that is very, very core, and you have to know this. So there are times, why do we call the market, why do we call it price action? It's because there are times the market has to repeat patterns. So when the market repeats patterns, what do? You have to be observant. Now, like I've said again and again, you don't dictate for the market. You actually allow the market dictate for you, and you follow the trend. You actually allow the market dictate for you, and you follow the trend. Okay, so what am I saying is that there was a pattern that was actually formed on gold even before now, and we are seeing the pattern again forming. And when we are seeing the pattern again forming, it is definitely telling us and showing us a big signal that there is something coming up, and you must not miss out. And what is the pattern? Now, this is on daily. Okay, while we speak, let me quickly show us on weekly. I always talk about we seeing things from the bigger picture, because when we see things from the bigger picture, we see things on the bigger reality. And when we see things on the bigger reality, it gives us a brighter, it's like when you can see things from a bigger place, it gives you more to see. It's like you're seeing into the future. So this is good, and you will notice that yes, it had been unable to break this top. So I've spoken about this again and again, and yes, we saw a recent double top form here, and you will notice on the double top form a two retest happened on the double top. So retest 1 was here, while retest 2 was here. Now, come and see it very well and better even on the daily. So this is the pattern. It was broken to the downside. Retest 1 was this. That is where my cursor is presently. And retest 2 was this. Why? We don't know. The price dictated. Probably because it just wanted to move in its own way. So yes, the price actually, we are going to have entered the market on the first retest. And of course, if you had entered, definitely you would have taken away one or two things away from the market. So imagine that the market broke down and we tested it, and on the retest, it went to the downside and again came back to that neckline and retest it again. So imagine that on this double top, which is on the daily here, we saw 2 retests before it sold to 1888. Now, we are seeing another mini pattern forming like the older pattern. Now, what are we seeing again? Now, if you look in, now, please, I need you to look in well, looking clearly. Now, if you look in clearly, you see that at this second retest of the pattern, we are going to go to the 4 hours and see it better. There was a similarly smaller pattern from here, which you can also call a double top. But I'm not, this is not even my issue presently. Okay, this was formed and it actually broke to the downside. Yes. And yes, we saw the first retest, and now we are seeing another retest again. Okay, we are seeing another retest. Don't forget that on this we saw two. So it is also replicating this again and making this gold to actually give us another double retest before it sold to the downside. So if you have not been selling gold, one of the best times to, but wait, I'm going to further explain things, because I could see that so many people are quite not really, not really clear about what gold is doing. Is gold buying, is gold selling? So it gave you a sell signal. It came into the retest and then got it to the downside. I feel like, oh yes, gold should be all down selling. But on Tuesday, I spotted and I told everyone that joined that you will notice that we had two retests on this pattern here. So this is the bigger one. Now the smaller one is what is forming here. So now let's go to the 4 hours to even see things better. But before that, I actually drew a trend line, and I want us to see things from the trend line. Now this is from the recent high to the recent low, and you will see that gold is still also trending around the 50 to the 61 feet area. Now let me draw this out. I need to draw this out so that you can see it. Okay, I need to draw this out so that you can see it. Please, I want you to pay attention so clear. Okay, so that's the fib area. So it's also forming like a pattern within the Fibonacci area. Okay, so it's also forming a pattern within the Fibonacci area, and also coming to replicate the former kind of retest that was done earlier on the older time frame, even on the lower time frame. Now let's go to 4 hours to see things better. I'm going to delete this one so that we can stay with this. But before I go further with this, please allow me to take this away first. Allow me to hide this. I'm still coming back. I'm still going to show it. But now I just want to also see things better now again. So now look at gold from here. Gold broke to the downside. Now retested. Now on the retest, so to the downside again, coming for what? Coming for the second retest on the I showed us the pattern that was formed, which is somewhere around here. Okay, so now what is happening on gold? Gold had done a retest, and what we expect that gold should sell to the downside, and not even for the next maybe 10 or 5 people. No, gold is selling for what? For major. But before that, let me show us this again. I'm trying to show us something very beautiful and good, but if you are not following me clearly, you might not be able to get it. Now, there are two confluences, there are two confirmations rather, or three confirmations giving us confluences on why gold should sell at least to 1888, and that's nothing less than, it's 1888.980818. That's nothing less than 300 pips away from where it is presently. But before that, let me show us confluence one. What is the reason why? Reason one is because we had the former retest pattern that actually played out on gold that is about playing out again on gold. That is one. What is the reason two? Reason two is because from the recent swing high to the recent swing low, which we drew from year to year on the daily, we can see that gold is actually still within. It has not closed above. As much as it did not close above the 50 to the 61 feet area, so gold is still within the range to see actually sell. And what is reason three? Reason three is because it broke this counter trend line to the downside. We tested it and still not breaking it to the upside. So that is already three confirmations to say that gold is what is going to be selling. Now I'm going to draw this counter trend line. This is a mini one. I'm just trying to see how we can get into the market if you are yet to get into the market. Let me just quickly draw that. So now, like I said, you see that on the Fibonacci, the candle closed yesterday. You can see how long the wick is. And so many people was actually deceived yesterday that gold wants to start buying, it's buying to the upside, gold is buying to the upside. And before you know, you see how the news pushed you. And you wouldn't know that, yes, gold is still within the 50 to the 61 fib area. And yes, gold was still doing that. And if you were not informed, definitely you would have been deceived and carried away by what the market is doing. So now what is possible and how can you get into the market if you have not been? How can you get into the market if you have not been? So this is my contingency plan on gold. What is my contingency? Is that gold might still go to the upside a little bit before it shoots again. Okay, when I say to the upside a little bit, what do I mean? I'm saying this because the retest that happened here on the second one, and the engulfing candle was sharp. Of course, it should be sharp. But when I went back to look into things on this, the older pattern we are trying to follow, I could see that when the retest happened, there was even a kind of retracement to the upside a little bit before it sold to the downside. So I am not saying perfectly 100% that the retracement is going to happen, but I just wanted to have contingencies, probably for a better entry, for that retracement might happen. So we might see another retracement probably into this blue line. We might see that. Okay, we might see that. I'm not saying that we are going to see that 100%, but what I can confirm to you and tell you is that gold is selling, and you can even see it on the 4 hours that it engulfed, came into the box, and you see how the bearish candle engulfed both candles to the downside. So what I can say, and I'm very sure about, is that gold is going to sell to 1888, 1888, and that is nothing less than 300 pips away from where it is presently. But before that, what do you do to confirm? Okay, yes, is that, sorry, let me quickly check this. Okay, we are still good. Okay, we are still good. So yes, I'm expecting, I'm just expecting that with what we have seen and what we are following, with what the price had dictated earlier before, I'm expecting that gold might actually come into this blue box, just probably to just play around it before it just breaks the counter trend line. But if it does not do that, what should I expect? Now I'm expecting that gold must break this counter trend line to the downside. Yes. I am going to have us to be more conservative rather than to be too anxious to enter into the market and actually lose out. So because you would imagine that you are not careful and you just get into the market where it is now, bam, and you would see the market. I don't know how you want to put your stop loss, but I know you cannot enter into the market here and come and put your stop loss at 1934, 1936, and you imagine that gold is what is taking you out. So I know for a good that gold is what is selling. But I just need us to be careful. And another way to enter, which is the third entry, is if you see gold closed, that's 2 candles closed. Let me draw this out, please. Okay, please check this out. So 2 candle close below this support line. 2 candle close below this support line. So that is that on gold, and I think I have to move on to the next one. So gold is selling, that I can say for sure. But the most beautiful entry I would like from gold is to see gold still retraces to the upside a little bit, still retraces to the upside a little, if not even here, but on the creation of this is a lower low creating. So on the creation of a lower high, I just expect something here before it breaks the counter trend line. So if I see gold comes around here, I'm telling us, I might not be with you there directly, but hear my voice, hear my voice wherever you may be. If you see gold come around here and hear the word of John that, John said if gold comes around here, and I can see that it engulfs back to the downside, don't just wait that it comes here and you just take it. No, you might just want to come and form another probably mini pattern here. When it comes around this place, make sure that you see it engulf, not necessarily on the 4 hours. It might even be on the 15 minutes. Make sure that you just see it engulf to the downside. Make sure that you see it engulf to the downside. So you might just wait for it, maybe around here, or around here whatsoever. But just see that. But make sure that you see it engulf to the downside before you sell it. So that's that on gold. And I think I have to show us the next thing, which is US oil. Yes, we spoke about US oil last week. And I think I really have to speak about it even before US 30, because I want to speak about US 32. Okay, yes. So yes, this is the weekly chart on oil, and right from right from 2020, that's from April 2020, you see that US oil has been buying. And don't forget that I draw my resistance and support lines, whichever way you want to call it, but I draw them as zones, and you will see that I draw them as zones because I take reactions of the candles, both the body and the wick. I'm not just taking it by wick alone, and I'm not just taking it by body alone. So reactions of the candle both by wick and body, and where I can see major touch or major reversals, and I take them as what, as zones, and I don't just call it support and resistance line or area alone. I take them as zones, I take them as zones. And you will see I've been able to map out my zones, and I have 4 major zones on the US oil. And of course, don't forget that anytime you want to come into the chart, I would like to take things from the bigger time frame, so that we can be able to have a bigger view, and we can be able to see things in the bigger way. And you see how US oil has been buying from zone to zone. Now, from zone 1 to zone 2, and consolidated a little time around this place, broke it to the upside. We tested that zone and bought again to the next zone, came back into that zone, bought and rallied, break this zone, and went to the next. What I just want you to see is that as it has been forming higher highs and higher lows, as it has been forming higher highs and higher lows, it has been forming both the higher highs and higher lows as what? From zone to zone. So from zone to zone, from zone back to the zone, from zone back to the zone, and flying over the zone, coming into this again, trying to come back into this, and forming a pattern, and brings it back into the zone. Now, forming a retest, brings it back to this zone, and it has been consolidating forward for major period of time. Now, what are we seeing on US oil? We can see that it has actually broken this. It has been able to move from this zone to the next zone, and actually broken it to the upside. Now, what are we expecting on US oil? Now, by that, already from the weekly time frame, we are sure that we have seen higher highs and higher highs and higher highs and higher highs. So higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. So we are already convinced that oil is buying. Okay, oil is buying. So what do we expect now? Now we have seen oil actually broken to the upside. Now we expect to see a retest, and by the retest, we expect that it's also going to create a third touch on this on the guiding trend line. And the most the most greatest of every impulse movement is the third touch of the guiding trend line. So now this is our trend line. This is our trend line now from the low to the where it is presently, touching the next week. So you see that it has been able to move from one, see how it rallied to the upside, see how it came back from it, retraced to the downside a little while, and also bought again. The import movement was great, broke the resistance area, and actually went to the upside. Now I am expecting, and I hope that you should also expect, don't go into the market blindly. Don't just take things away and you feel like you are just too quick with things. I am expecting that oil should come back into the zone, and it should also give us a touch into into this guiding trend line. That will actually be like a third touch. Now, the third thing to make it a confluence, the third confirmation that should make it a confluence is also this. Wow. This is so beautiful. If you are not seeing what I'm seeing, I want you to see it now. I want you to see. So you see that from this swing guy, from where it has rallied to the upside, I'm talking about the impulse movement now, the second impulse movement, from the second touch of the guiding trend line. You will see that from the swing low to the recent swing guy, and you would see where the Fibonacci area is. That is the 50 to the 61. I use this because I feel like that is the most major and the most significant area on Fibonacci that I really, really love using. So you will see that from the 50 to the 150 area, is still falling back on the zone, and it's still also falling back where? It's still falling back on the trend line. So I think the most beautiful thing to do for oil now is to wait. But if you cannot wait for oil to come back here, I just want you to know that oil is coming back into the zone, and it's most likely coming back into this trend line to give us things. We might not be able to see this confirmed in the next 1-2 days, but yes, I'm going to tell you that in the next 2 weeks or in the next 1 week, you are going to see oil here. And yes, I'm going to tell you, you've been able to see it. So how can you maximize this trade? Yes, I am not really a fan of taking, counter trades, because of course we know oil is buying, and I'll be like, oh, and take a sell. But yes, we can actually take a conservative sell. We can take a conservative sell on oil. We are sure that oil is actually buying. But yes, we know that oil should come back into the zone and guiding trend line. So the way you can actually take it, so I think I saw something and I want to show us. Okay, yes. So this is the 4 hours. And I can tell you with all experience and with all things that oil is most definitely coming back into this arena. Oil is most definitely coming back into that. So what do I expect you to do? Now I expect that oil should give us, oil had already done that, but let me just show you this. I'm coming. I don't know. Okay, I think I have to remove this magnet. Okay, so yes, you can see a bullish green, you can see a bullish candle, actually forming, and as soon as it comes to this blue area, this blue area is like a neckline. Okay, yes, it's like a neckline. So as soon as you see it coming to this area, now go to the lower time. It can be 15 minutes. I would advise that you stay with the 15 minutes, go into the lower time frame and check out for what? Check out for, a touch and a retest and a candle that engulfs it to the downside. As soon as you see that, you can join in or you to sell it from where it is presently. But yes, you have to be very conservative with it. Your stop loss has to be, somewhere around the head of here. It has to be somewhere around there and be able to sell oil from where it is presently. But be very conservative with it and manage your risk properly. But I can tell you that oil is going to be selling from where it is presently to the next zone. I can tell you this. I can tell you this. Yes, I can. But make sure that you accommodate your SL. Your SL should be somewhere a little above the recent high. So that's that on oil. And I think we are good to go to the next one. Please, if you can still see my screen, I just need one or two people to just chat me and you just drop it as a chat in the comment. But if you can still see my screen and still hear my voice so clearly, please let me know. Please let me know. Please let me know. Please let me know as we go to US 30, which is the last one. I can see Mr. No, Mr. No is here. I presume I'm correct with the name. And if I'm not, please, I'm so sorry, pardon me. Special shout out to you, Mr. Luke, Mr. Taiwo, Mr. Leo, Mr. Ruben, Mr. Austin, Mr. Agolo FX, and even Mr. Beverly. Okay, please, if you can still see my screen, I just need to be sure. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Leo. Thank you so much, Mr. Beverly. Okay, I think I just have to continue. Okay, that's that for that. That's that for that. Let's talk about US oil. US 30 rather. Okay. Now the big question here is, okay, as you can see, I don't really want to go to the bigger time frame to start talking about this, but yes, we can know that the US 30 has been on a buying trend. It has been creating higher highs and higher lows. It has been creating higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. It has been creating higher highs and higher lows. It has been creating that. So what's presently happening on US 30 and what's the most feasible thing to check out for? What's presently happening on US 30 and what's the most feasible thing to check out for? US 30 presently is looking like, yes, it wants to start selling, but does it really wants to sell? I am not really going to give into that US 30 wants to sell, because I believe that if it even wants to sell, it should move into this summit. That's the summit. That's the highest point US 30 has gotten to, of all time. So yes, actually it's trading back into this lower zone, the next support zone. And but what I'm just trying to say is that yes, we are fully and very convinced that US 30 has been buying since when? 10th of October 2022, and you can see how it has been moving from zone to zone, from zone to zone, and from zone to zone, consolidated around this place and went to the upside, something like what we saw on the US oil. So now came back as a retest. So I would say that it is still the retest. It is still the retest that it is still actually forming on this support zone. Don't be swayed away. Do not be swayed away and feel like, oh, what's VS 30 doing? I think this thing is selling. Please don't get trapped in the sell. You might have gotten trapped or been taken out in the buy, but please don't get trapped in the sell. I am not sure USD want to sell. And why am I saying this? Is because why? Reason one is because we've seen it broken past this zone, and we've seen it come to this place and coming as as a retest. But yes, if you were here on Tuesday, you see that I said that let us look. One of my contingencies for this trade is that it might actually form and come back into this box, into this zone as a proper base. And I think that is what happening presently. I think he wants to come back into this zone as a proper base. Now, if you see the push for this impulse movement that actually broke past this place, you see that something like a pattern, taking orders away. Let's assume that this other side is being blindfolded. Like from where my cursor is, you see that you can see something like a W pattern. Something like a W pattern, and you see how it has rallied to the upside. Now coming back as a return. Now, I feel, and I will most likely say, based on my experience, that USDT is just coming into this box. It doesn't want to come into this box to be like a proper base before we see it to actually break to the upside. Now, if USDT does not, because already did not maintain and respect the Fib area, the Fibonacci. So I think this should be deleted now. So that's deleted. So now we are the next place to look out for, or to look out for things, should be this next base, which is the support zone. So we see how USDT be at. If it breaks to the downside, then I am not even interested in either the buy or the sell. Okay, I'll just advise that you stay outside. Because if it breaks, the only reason why I'll be interested in sell is breaking it to the downside and actually coming back as a retest. And of course, I need to be very sure of that. Okay, but as it is, I can still say that as much as it's still trading and trending above this zone here, I can say all he wants to do presently is just coming into this area to form a proper base. We've seen like a first leg. The first leg here seems like, it was not enough. And if you're also looking closer, you see that a gap was actually created for a long while. So a gap was created from year to year, and also it's coming back to and the goal of gap trading now. When there is any gap, the market comes back to cover it up. So it's looking like it's coming to cover it up and actually from a proper base in this zone. So what do you look out for? Look out for how things turns out to be at this zone. If it's going to come into the zone and actually engulfs it back to the upside. So of course you can look out for this on the 4 hours. I would say look out for this on the 4 hours now and not on the 15 minutes. Only on the 15 minutes, you have seen like a W pattern here, and you can see that it engulfs it to the upside. But if you are not seeing something concrete on the 15 minutes, I advise that you wait for it on the 4 hours. So see how things turns out to be when it comes into this area, and look out for things. So if you see an engulfing candle engulfing it to the upside, I tell you with all boldness that then US30 is ready for the long buy. So with this, I think I have been able to make justice to gold, US oil, and US30. And on Monday, I think I'm going to be making a difference on Tuesday, rather. That's on our next meeting. I think I'm going to be making a difference. I might not be talking about, one thing about me is that I don't like looking at too much. And I think I've said this at the beginning of these live sections. I don't like looking at too much things. And I think for traders, it's so good for every one of us. The more you look, okay, the more you are bothered. And the more you are bothered, the less you'll be able to, manage your psychology. So you can imagine that at the same time, you are looking out for like 15 pairs or 30. So you are looking for this, you are looking for this. What I just advise most times is just, stay with 3 or just stay with 5. Okay, stay with 3 or just stay with 5, so that you can be able to vividly place things. You don't have to do so much before you earn so much. No, you don't have to do so much before you earn so much. And in this business, you all know it. I know you know it. People that tend not to sleep, people that stays on their phones, people that check the market all the time, people that stays addicted to the system, they are the ones the market gets. They are the ones the market gets to play their psychology and emotion. So one of the ways to deal with the market is dealing with patience and what discipline. And you don't really have to do so much. You don't really have to do so much before you earn so much. So I am not of that school of thought that I have to look into so many things before you make so many money. Okay, so what I'm just saying basically is that one of the reasons why you might not have seen me talking about outside US30, outside gold, outside USD base pairs, outside US oil is because I can show you okay, let me just show you this. I can show you my watch list, so you can see. I already have just one coin, which is the BTC, the DXY, I have 4 USD based pairs. I have the gold. I have, two indexes, that's US30 and XPY, and I have the oil. I think that's just all, and Euro JPY and USD JPY. So what I want us to do now is, if you have any pair you want me to talk about, I think I'll be able to welcome the first two or the first three. If you have any pair you think you want me to talk about on our next live webinar, which is the next live selection on Tuesday, happening either on the Telegram or on the Discord, just type it out. Yes, I can see our comments. Okay, just type it out. August. I don't get which is August. Oh, you mean AUD USD, Mr. Beverly? Okay, so just type it out. I'm going to note it. I'm writing it down now. I'm writing it down. I'm going to note it, and I promise to talk about it on what? Okay, AUD USD, and I promise to talk about it on what? On Tuesday. On Tuesday next week. Okay, is that all? If you want me to talk about any pair you like for us to all see together and analyze it together on Tuesday, just drop it. Okay, so just okay. Mr. Beverly is dropping too. Okay. We'll see how it goes. And I'm writing it down. If that's all, then I think I can call it a day for today. So let me just make shout out to us. Yes, Mr. Leo, I've noted it. I've noted GU, and Mr. Beverly, I've noted AU and MU. Thank you so much for your comments, and thank you for coming on. So I'm going to note that I've noted that already. So I'm just making a special shout out to everybody who has taken time out of your time to join us. Thank you all so much for joining. Your time here is not, we love you so much. And many thanks to Brewers Funding. Without Brewers Funding, we all couldn't have been here. And this is not, I say it again and again. I don't think there's any meeting that happens I don't say this. This would not have been possible without Brewers Funding. And this initiative is a great one. It does not happen with so many pro firms. So, and one of these is such that we can be proud about, and we feel like every pro firm should even try to copy this. And yes, Brewer Funding is what is leading. I can see so many of their and I also know that you can also see it. So many of their potentials, and every features they have, they are so sweet. Instant, you pay out, you get your credentials instantly. You don't have anything to struggle about. All kind of strategy are being allowed, and of course the price are good, and it's not exorbitant, and so many good things about this promising profile. And yes, one thing we can be sure about, that they'll be here serving, and they'll be here serving strong. And for everybody who are joining us today, you all are what you are appreciated. Let me just make shout out to us, Mr. Zain. I hope I'm correct with the name. If I am not, please pardon. Mr. Giovanni Vera, Mr. Noor, Mr. Luke, Mr. Taiwo, Mr. Leo, Mr. Ruben, Mr. Austin, Mr. Agulwe and Mr. Beverly. Thank you all so much for joining. See you same place, same time on Tuesday. Have a blessed day and have a blessed weekend. Thanks.